it generally says it is recording. Okay, we're recording. We are live. So anyway, a hearty welcome to Nancy and to Cami. We miss you today, but I hope you enjoy today's class and get an opportunity to watch it. So I guess let's just start first with a question. If you had any comments about last week's photographer, anything, did you get a chance to take a look at her work again? And did that change what you thought of her work or anything in particular?
I would say it improved by looking again because it was such a shock after seeing, who. And she's not my favorite photographer. I have to leave it like that.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, I looked at it again too, and I don't know, I think she's really interesting. And um, look at she was painting on a photograph. I think I kind of missed that the first time, and it's just interesting to see. I like that whole collage. I find it very interesting,
Well,
and
I'm sorry, please continue.
I just was like, I'm always interested in how people pull all those different mediums together.
Yeah, I think she, as a young photographer, I mean, you almost might say as a young image maker, because, photography anymore is not just what it was when we were shooting on film. And photographers are pushing the boundaries all the time and always have been, really. I mean, even with film, people always were pushing the boundaries, trying to do multiple exposures, trying to do timed exposures to get blur. And, now with the digital cameras and with all of the software that we have to post-process, we can do things that are significantly different. And so really digital media, I guess, would be one way to describe it. So she offers that, and just I thought it would be an interesting for us to see another take on the modern America road trip, which is so iconic in our culture. So um, today we're going to take a look at a different photographer. His name is Louis Stettner. Have any of you heard about Louis?
No.
No.
Okay. So that's great. So we're going to be able to introduce you to somebody new. Uh, Lewis is described as the least known of the best known photographers. And his dates are November 7, 1922 to October 13, 2016.
Wow.
So that's who we're going to be looking at. But I thought that two things. I thought first I would start with a little bit of a remembrance of Gordon Grant and his work, and just show you a couple of his photographs to kind of like get us going here today. So let me just kind of get my self set up here, and I'll share my screen. And of course, Zoom has changed their interface, so sharing a screen is not what it used to be. Allow, okay, hang on a second. Why is it not letting me share my screen? Ah, there we go. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. So yeah, Gordon was a really terrific photographer. He did a wide range of subjects, and these I'm just going to show you a couple of landscapes that he did. He died, I think he was, I don't know, maybe 50, 55. I'm not sure how old. He had cancer.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
Oh, wow. That is cool.
Yeah, that's a difficult shot to make, and I'm assuming that it's a long time exposure because he has multiple strikes of lightning there. So,
Mm.
when you're out after dark, you can leave the shutter open for minutes at a time, really, and it's not going to overexpose the image because everything is so dark. And so that when the flashes of lightning strike, you can record multiples that way.
I was thinking that maybe he used a special way of editing, but it's actually not. It's the way it was.
We'd have to, whoops, excuse me, we'd have to go back and ask him about exactly how he did that, but I'm thinking that the simpler
Not,
thing would be to have had a timed exposure, long time exposure so
uh-huh.
that he could get multiple strikes of lightning.
So you're saying it happened one after another.
Yeah, like
They weren't the
he
same
could have
time.
said, he could have opened his shutter for a couple of minutes, and
Oh,
so
wow.
then they would have happened that way. Now, it is also possible, as Judy mentioned, that he could have post-processed and merged multiple images. Um, and that's so those are two ways to get to this effect.
You know what I find is that I have a like a bias against post-processing. I kind of feel like that's cheating, but I guess it's not. It's
Yeah,
making an image.
it's
I feel that way only because I have no ability to be able to do it. I'm jealous.
Yeah.
well, Judy, you do quite a bit of post-processing on your images.
I
You
do, but I'm not able to do all kinds of, tricks.
well, maybe that will be coming, but I mean, I think that the goal is always to try to get the best image possible when you click the shutter once. But as I mentioned about Anastasia and her work, I mean, we are living in a post,
Yeah,
traditional photography world. And so the way in which your own work can rise above what everyone else is doing is by trying something new. And
yeah.
trying something new often is post-processing in a way that someone hasn't yet considered.
Hmm.
So,
In
but
my
I hear
life,
you. Say that again, Judy.
in my next life.
In your next life. Okay. All right.
Wow.
Now,
That's very cool.
another one where, camera on a tripod, timed exposure. So he's getting the flag moving and but the boat in the water is still, so the exposure isn't so very long that the water starts to look blurry.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Looks like steam rising off the water.
Hmm. Interesting. Very interesting. Wow. I love that.
So yes, another timed exposure. So the boat is moving in the cove or on the water, and he's capturing that. But meanwhile, these boats aren't. So I'm not sure exactly how he's managing that, and potentially another post-processing work,
Hmm.
or just that this was moving more than the background.
Doesn't look like it.
So that's some of Gordon Grant's works. Just wanted to kind of honor him in our workshop here today. So let me now show you a couple of Stettner's works, and then I'll tell you a little bit about him. So I told you his dates 1922 to I guess 2015. He did a lot of different series during the course of his photographic career. He lived in primarily New York and Paris, so he was back and forth between those two cities. He was often, he fell in love with the camera at an early age, and during when I guess the war hit, he became a war photographer. But these shots are going to be shots that he took at Penn Station.
Hmm,
That's great.
it is
Yeah.
great.
Hang on a second. I'm just okay. Yeah,
Hmm.
simple, right? Right, but just getting the person just as she's stepping between one, circle of light and another.
Yeah.
And she looked like she was really working on it, but she had her body a certain way, so it was really delightful photograph.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know how kids are, they
Yes.
entertain themselves in these ways, simple but very effective. So here he's taking this, photograph outside the train. And this was in 1958 that he took it.
Wow.
So again, getting at, like how do I, how do you make a photograph that shows the lounge of the train, Well, he stood outside the train, showing something different. And then capturing the person within, and then
That's great.
picturing.
Yeah. Without her figure, without her head, I closed it off. It wouldn't have been half as interesting. It
Thank
really,
you.
you feel the length of the train with her there.
Right, right. And he thought of himself as sort of a humanitarian photographer. So he was going for moods, not just straight journalistic work.
Right. And I thought the previous one with the two women without their heads in the shot. I mean, maybe that's just the way it was, but it seemed like it was kind of making a statement.
This one here,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I didn't even notice the second woman.
yep.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. Hmm. Hmm. Interesting. Look at the angles, great angles.
Yeah.
And he copied the angle and little.
And this is interesting, just it's almost like a negative, a strip on a negative of different
Yeah.
photos, different stories captured in the window there.
Right. Wow.
And I like this one,
I do too.
just capturing that.
Those hats.
Great.
Yeah, yeah, back when men wore hats.
Yeah.
I remember those days.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, my father.
Yeah, my dad did too. That's true.
And he took the train to work every day. So
Ah, what a shot. That's great.
Game of cards. So yeah, just his eye, the ability to, just observe, 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 see something that you want, and then grab the photograph.
mm.
Oh,
And he fuzzed up the photograph, kind of like she looks like she's sleeping, or
Oh, I
she's
think she is probably sleeping or
it looks like
resting.
her eyes are closed.
Yeah.
and the background, makes it feel like she, you feel her sleep.
Yeah. So there's
Feel
the
her
depth of
back.
field, right?
Yep.
That it was working for us in that photograph. Okay. All right. So let me just I'm going to stop the share for well, I'll tell you what, we can leave his photographs up here. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about his life, and then we're going to actually see a short or an extended actually video about him. So yeah, and when he was 18, he enlisted in the army and he became a combat photographer in Europe. So that was, but before then, really important, he grew up in Brooklyn. He and his family went to the Met all the time. And he
Hmm.
would go and see photo shows at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And so
Oh,
that's where his really love affair of photography started. They
Hmm.
would actually bring out to him, however old he was, maybe 13, 14, 15, some boxes of photos that he could take a look at. So this was really seminal to his early education and fascination with photography.
Hmm.
After the war, he joined the Photo League in New York, which at that time was a vibrant association, and a lot of famous photographers came out of the Photo League. So he visited Paris in the late 40s, and I believe that he initially went to Paris because he was looking to, or I'm not sure. Well, at one point he was looking to do a show in Paris of like American photographers. So while he was there, he fell in love with Paris. He met a lot of great photographers. Who did he meet? He met Brossai, who became a mentor for him, the great Hungarian photographer Brossai, who lived in Paris then. Robert Doisneau, um, Bobat, who was another great photographer. And later on, he became a close associate of Paul Strand.
Wow.
And I learned in researching Lewis's work that Strand left New York to go to Paris
Huh.
because of the political intolerance of the McCarthy era.
Wow.
So it resonates with what we're dealing with today, obviously. And Strand had been a founder of the Photo League and would have been blacklisted and banned if he had stayed in New York.
Huh. Uh-huh.
Wow.
So Stettner continued his career. He taught at Cooper Union and also at Brooklyn College and Queens College. And later in his life, he started photographing with a Rolleiflex, which is a 2 1/4 camera, where you kind of look down and see the image.
Mm.
And later in his life, he continued to work with unusual cameras, and he got into working with an 8 by 10 view camera.
Wow.
So, and he photographed a lot of landscapes at that point in his career in Les Alpilles in Provence, which is where Van Gogh painted often. Okay, so that gives you some background. Now let's see. I think I've got a video queued up. That's not the one. This is the one. So it is about 20 minutes. So we're going to just sit back and watch there, or don't sit back. I would say sit forward, watch it, make notes of things that you like that you see or that you hear, and we'll discuss it on the other side. Can you hear the music?
No,
No,
No?
nope.
Now?
no.
Still no? Okay. Okay. I'm going to stop the screen share and let's see if I my settings. Okay. Start it again. Do you hear anything?
No.
No.
Oh, that sucks. Okay, hang on a second. Stop the share. I'm going
On
to
the top, it says mute. Will that have anything to do with it?
say that again, Judy.
On the top, with our photographs here, of us, on the top, it says mute.
I don't see that.
Mine, it says mute.
Why don't you click it, see what happens? Oh, it just mutes you. Okay. Okay, you're muted now. We can't hear you. So can you unmute yourself? Go down to the bottom and see where it says the audio. And hit
Got
audio.
got
Okay,
it.
now we can
You
hear
go.
you. Okay, okay, all right. Okay, so let me just, I'm going to try something else here. Sorry about this delay, folks. I'm not sure what
Problem.
is going on, but we're going to try another path. Okay, let me just okay. Okay, now you can see this. Okay, participants see your application. Okay, so you're not hearing any music, I can tell.
No.
Okay. Well, what we're seeing right now is just a series of his work. So let's just keep looking at that. And when, so you can get another sense of his work.
Oh, how sad.
Mm. It's
Wow.
pretty great.
That's,
Unbelievable.
oh, wow.
Yeah. He's a fisherman he photographed.
Oh,
He did a lot of photographs of workers. These are the landscapes that he made towards the end of his career.
Wow.
that's nice.
My God. Hmm.
That's Brazil, the photographer.
Wow, that's a great shot.
Yeah. Really getting close up in those.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Okay, now we're not going to be able to hear this, so
Louis Stettner, a 20th century
I hear
American
it.
photographer,
you do. Oh,
left an
great.
indelible
Yes.
mark on the history of photography through his captivating
Fantastic.
work that explored the connections between urban life, humanity, and architecture in New York and Paris. His unique approach and ability to capture the essence of people and streets have been widely admired, establishing a lasting legacy. Born in Brooklyn, New York, into a family of craftsmen, Stettner developed his love for photography as he grew up. His passion for art began during a visit to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in Manhattan, where he was inspired to explore the world through the lens of a camera.
More strong character.
Stettner's trajectory took a significant turn during World War II, when he joined the United States Army as a combat photographer in Europe. His battlefield experience influenced his photographic vision, and after the war, he found his way to New York's famous Photo League, where he sought to capture post-war life and the human connections that defined his surroundings. In 1946, Stettner decided to settle in Paris, where he continued his visual exploration and furthered his education in photography and film at the Institut de Hautes Études Cinématographiques. Over the years, he maintained an intimate connection with both cities, New York and Paris, documenting the lives of the working class and the architecture that shaped their urban landscapes. His work stood out for its focus on the human dignity of the working class, and his ability to capture the essence of everyday life. From the changing faces of people to the grandeur of iconic bridges and buildings, Stettner managed to create a visual narrative that transcended time and space. As he aged, Stettner continued his passion for photography, using a large-format camera to explore the beauty of the landscape in Provence, following in the footsteps of his mentor Paul Strand. In summary, Louis Stettner made an enduring mark on photography with his ability to capture the essence of urban life, humanity, and architecture in two of the world's most iconic cities, New York and Paris. His passionate approach and commitment to authentic representation of people and places make him a photographer whose legacy lives on in every image he captured. Louis Stettner was born in Brooklyn, New York, in 1922, where he was one of 4 children. His father was a carpenter, so Louis learned the trade when he was young. Over time, he used the money he earned to support his growing love for photography. At the age of 13, his parents gave him a box camera as a gift, which served to sow the seeds for what would become his long career. Soon after, an article by Paul Outerbridge Jr. in a camera magazine helped the young artist appreciate the great potential of photography for interpreting the world around us. Throughout his teenage years, he made regular Saturday visits to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, where he persistently worked his way through the complete history of American photography by studying original prints and back issues of camera work. In the course of this independent study, he was particularly moved by the works of Alfred Stieglitz, Clarence H. White, and Paul Strand. Visits to Stieglitz's gallery American Place also informed his early development. Later in his teens, Stettner contacted Paul Strand to critique his own work and thus began a relationship that was to resume and deepen in 1951 in Paris. In his late teens, Stettner took his first and only classes in photography, given by the Photo League, a cooperative of photographers devoted to a newly developing socially conscious photography. Through the Photo League's exhibits, Stettner was further exposed to the work of Weegee, Edward Weston, and Louis Hine. In 1941, at the age of 18, Stettner enlisted in the Army in the Signal Corps, having requested to be trained as a combat photographer. Stettner was initially sent as a military student engineer to Princeton University, before eventually being posted as a combat photographer to the Pacific and eventually to Hiroshima. The experience of participating in World War II was to profoundly permeate Stettner's lifelong development as a photographer. After his discharge from the Army in December of 1945, Stettner returned to New York and resumed his association with the Photo League. Sid Grossman, a revered teacher and photographer, with a deep faith in the creative potential of people and in their ability to solve critical problems, befriended Stettner and was to become a decisive influence. He went on to appoint Stettner, 22 years old, a teacher at the League. It was at this time Stettner first met Weegee, a prelude to their long-term friendship. In 1947, Stettner left on a 3-week trip to Paris which extended into 5 years. In Paris, Stettner received a commission from the Photo League to gather prints from significant French photographers, Brassai, Isis, Boubat, Doisneau, Ronis, Masclet, etc., and organized the first exhibition of post-war French photography in the United States at the Photo League's gallery in 1948. The experience of selecting these photographs was the beginning of several vital friendships with fellow photographers, foremost Brassai, whom Stettner considered as his master and with whom Stettner maintained a close friendship for decades. His lifelong friendship with Edouard Boubat also begun at this time. Stettner also explored during this time his interest in sculpture, studying with Ossip Zadkine at his Paris studio. Stettner thus became an active and valued member of the post-war photography scene in Paris, where he would be visited by the likes of Eugene Smith and Robert Frank on their trips to France for discourse on his work.
Robert Frank.
Paul Strand's return to Paris permitted Stettner and Strand to establish a routine of weekly lunches. In 1950, Stettner was a major prize winner in Life's Young Photographers contest. Stettner returned to New York in the early 1950s and worked as a freelance photographer for Life, Time, Fortune, Paris Match, etc., as well as advertising firms in the US and Europe. This resulted in his traveling between the two continents. Early on, he also photographed for the Marshall Plan, but was to lose his job for his previous association with the Photo League and for refusing to reveal the political views of his fellow Photo League members to the FBI.
How about it?
During the
Jeez.
later 50s, Stettner, continuing to pursue his personal creative photography begun in Paris, completed his iconic group of series, Penn Station, Nancy, The Beat Generation, and Pepe and Tony, Spanish Fishermen. It was also during this time that Stettner, possessing a sense of social and economic justice, a keen eye, and a vast self-taught knowledge of both the technique and history of photography, first began to write about photography. This was a pursuit that he was to continue periodically over the next 40 years. Beginning with 35mm photography, History of the Nude in American Photography, and later followed by his noteworthy 1970s column, Speaking Out, of Camera 35, Stettner was one of the rare photographers of the 20th century, who critiqued the historical development of photography, during his time from the point of view of a working photographer. At the end of the 1960s, Stettner began teaching and lecturing at Cooper Union, Brooklyn College, then at Long Island University. Having been awarded a National Endowment for the Arts grant, Stettner photographed his worker series. In 1975, he was awarded first prize at the Pravda World Contest for Photography, and spent 6 weeks photographing the Soviet Union. By the early 1980s, Stettner had ceased both teaching and writing his Speaking Out column, devoting the next several decades to furthering the development and expression of his own creative vision. In 1990, Stettner returned permanently to France, where his photographs continue to be appreciated throughout Europe. He also began to paint, draw, and sculpt. He was awarded the Chevalier de l'Ordre des Arts et des Lettres by the French government in 2001. Notably during these last years, Stettner began his Manhattan Pastorale color series, through summer trips to New York, and a 3-year project of photographing the Alpilles in Provence, with an 8x10 large format field camera, continuing as ever to print his own photographs. Stettner died in Paris on October 13, 2016, a month after the closing of his exhibition, ICIALers, at Centre Pompidou. Throughout his prolific career, Louis Stettner, a force of nature with a Whitman-esque passion for life, and the inquiring mind of a philosopher, interacted with, and was befriended by many of the most significant photographers, of the humanist school of photography, of the 20th century, Stieglitz, Brassai, Strand, Weegee, Cartier-Bresson, Sid Grossman, Lou Feuer, Lizette Model, Bubat, among many others. The encouragement of fellow photographers, whose reflections and critiques of his work Stettner profoundly valued, was to reinforce a lifetime passion, that of grasping the significance of life and reality around him.
It's a great shot. So we'll see some shots we've seen before, but helps to review them. So you all can't hear music now, is that right?
Right.
Yeah,
There's
no.
some copyright thing that won't allow the music to play.
Oh.
It's quite beautiful. So I'm sorry that you can't.
Unbelievable.
Gonna- Now we'll see some of his color work. A lot in the frame, it's very
Yeah.
cluttered.
Some of them actually almost look like a collage.
Right, exactly. He's able to do that in the camera.
Oh, that's great.
Just gonna stop that there because this guy's final words aren't necessarily worth listening to. But so any
His-
immediate reactions?
Yeah, he first his ability when he does people's faces to the human side of them. I mean, it's just amazing. It's like so has feelings that come out of these people when he photographs them. And his use of light, black and white, but light reflections is not to be compared to anybody else. They're just sensational.
Yeah, he's really terrific at that, and he manages to really make a lot of chaos a dynamic composition, which is terrific.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was in the photographs where a lot of it is dark and sometimes more than half of it looks dark, but then you kind of focus in on what he's shooting and it's really effective. I love the candid photography. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows he's so in the zone, watching, observing people. And thanks for mentioning the dark in the photographs because by letting, let's say, the outer ring of the photo go almost black, it
Hmm.
really forces you to look at what is where the light is, and that makes the image all the more powerful as a consequence of that.
It's like when you have the tip of the boat, you focus on the boat and the rest of it is a blur, kind of, I mean, it's just not important. The boat is important. The
Absolutely. And also the way when the background is not important or is dark, also you have to think of the shape. What shape does the lighted area create, and then how does it then work with the shape of the, let's say, negative space behind it? So you want to make sure that those shapes actually somehow are inform each other and make the for a better photograph, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there was one photograph of a man with a hood. And then I think his mouth was like also like a oval shape or something. Maybe he was blowing smoke, but it was such a cool, I mean, to capture that moment, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's shooting with cameras where you can't take, 3 or 4 exposures, rapidly. So, I mean, in that situation, you just develop an intuitive mind so that when to click the shutter because you anticipate something is going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm just so surprised that he is not better known than he is because he's so talented. Unbelievable. His photographs are
Yeah.
fabulous.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. And look, he worked with really the best of the
Yeah.
best. I mean, all the names that were mentioned there, Brassai, Paul Strand, two really leading photographers, Stieglitz. I mean, the list is like the who's who of, mid 20th century photography. So,
Been on that list.
yeah, well, I mean, I think, who knows how all these things sort of unfold. It's possible that his years in Paris may have made him less known in the States, and then in Paris he was an American outsider. Who knows? But he was clearly a gifted person. He was writing essays about photography. I haven't read them, but I'm going to kind of seek them out to see his thoughts. And I don't think he was the kind of person who really was into a lot of self-promotion,
That's probably part of it.
potentially, potentially. So I do have a video of him actually talking, which I think will be interesting for us to watch. So let me get myself set up here, and then we can watch that. Okay, here we are. Okay. And he had an exhibit at the Pompidou Center in Paris. And so this interview is by a French journalist, but it's in English. So at least his part of the speaking is. Okay, so you see my screen, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Where are you from?
Brooklyn.
When did you started photography?
I believe I started about
You hear
13
him?
or 14.
When you were a young boy, you
Yeah.
went to the Metropolitan and look at the photos. Could you
Can you hear him?
Yes.
Okay, great.
just tell this story?
I had heard that the Metropolitan has a good collection of original photographs by Stieglitz and Strand, and that if I called up, I can come and see them. I came in, and here I was, 15 years old. I had put on a tie. I was treated with great respect. I got a desk and chair, and they brought all the photographs to show me. There were sort of frames, and here I was. It was unbelievable that they showed with great respect and showed me, a wonderful experience.
How about that?
Helped me grow and evolve as a photographer.
Wow.
Yep.
EC, it's not just what you see; it's significant in other ways that give it an added richness and profoundness. It's just not a document. I came originally for 2 weeks. I was going to arrange a show in New York of French photographers. And I suppose I fell in love with the place and I just stayed for 5 years. It helped me because I was an ex-soldier. I could get a small pension. So I stayed and a photograph. My closest friend was Buba. And there was a wonderful spirit of camaraderie after the war. Uh, Versailles was my master. I would come home every week and walk. And it was a wonderful, encouraging experience.
How was Paris after the war?
Well, there was a wonderful spirit there. People, not right away in 46, they were still getting over the shock, but gradually there was a wonderful spirit of enjoying peace. People were open, they were carefree, and there was almost a joyous atmosphere. After 3 years including myself, I'd been in the army for 3 years, people were really enjoying
Freedom.
and the freedom. uh, People dared to do things that they don't normally did, and they were very open to each other. It was a wonderful spirit. New York did not experience all the suffering you had here in Europe, you see.
It's a great shot.
I came there originally doing some writing, and then I came there naturally. I brought along my camera, and I was very moved by these fishermen that would go out. And then I got to talk to them. I went out with them for a few days, and that was the main thing I did on Ibiza was a coverage of Pepe and Tony. They opened themselves to me, and it just worked out. When something works out, it's always sort of a miracle, and yet it was very simple at the same time. When I came back to New York, I thought this might make a good book, and I got it together and I made a maquette. And then I thought about it. And I said, look, I didn't even take it around. I couldn't see the climate there. I was interested in two Spanish fishermen. So I just put it in a box and put it away.
What sort of camera did you use?
A rolling cord camera. I used this camera because it was very discreet. I didn't stare at them. I looked down. I fiddle with it, you know. And so photography is very curious. If people know you're taking a picture, they no longer feel relaxed or themselves. I could take it without, most of the time, without them being aware that I was taking. But I suppose it's probably the only place where you can photograph people when they're sitting there and they don't realize that you're photographing them if you're discreet enough. I was very much into them as people. People on the streets. I'm always walking around, but New York has no cafes. The only place where I could photograph them wasn't somebody that was sitting there. And I could only do it when the train stopped, you see. But I just waited for quite a long time doing it.
What are you looking in this human body? What are you interested in?
It's hard to answer, but to express what I feel is very important about them. It can be relevant, enrich other people. Finding it all out about life, it's an endless process. It goes on to infinity, you know, being aware of what other human beings are. And it's also a great enrichment to be aware of. Workers make the world go around. We could not eat, we could not dress, we could not live if someone didn't work. And I feel most artists uh, don't give them enough attention. They go into factories, there's a whole book on a factory. Yeah. Myself, I was passionately interested in, I still am.
Huh.
It was mostly, well, it was a little before that, mostly against the Vietnamese War, which I believe also I was against. And they were against it, and I felt passionately also about it. So that's why I photographed them.
So you were part of the protesters?
Yes. Very naturally, she accepted me, and She wasn't aware of the camera. And I guess suppose it's
Interesting
a
angles.
question of friendship. You trust someone. I think of mutual trust. I think it was what had happened after the war. It was a protest in a way of not going to a typical job, going into it. They didn't want to follow the same routine as before the war. They wanted more freedom, a more exciting life. And this was their way of protesting.
So Nancy was a beatnik.
Yes, well, a human being first. I don't think she always stayed a beatnik. I heard she got married and she had children. It's hard to say when you say
Love
what
that.
was interesting. It's not an intellectual thing. You're moved by something and then you want to take pictures. And it was completely different from the city. And I was just interested in how things were around me. I relate. Still, life is hard to describe why you do care for it, but it's I suppose it's particularly everyday things around us interest me very much. If you look carefully, they're a great source of spiritual encouragement. I was living in Athens, and I got to love very much the countryside and the Hudson River Valley. And the small towns interested me very much. The people there, how they lived.
Did you direct them?
No, I never did. The only time if I wanted to take a portrait of someone, I would ask them, and we would spend 20 minutes, half an hour. Quite by accident, I came across the LP. It's a forest, not far from Hull, and everything about me inspired me a lot. It's nature that expresses itself in all its fantasy. And I've gone there now 14 times. There are 46 photographs, which I did. It's interesting. I came back to a camera which is 8 by 10 inches, which is the same one that I started in Paris in 47. I had always been attracted to nature. I'd made a few attempts. They were partially successful, and only a big negative could capture it. So it's a camera weighs about 30 kilos, and my wife Janet and carried it around. I was I don't know, little by little, something that grew. It grew and it got more evolved. And later on, I found out that Van Gogh worked there, Cézanne. And so, anyway, I've fallen into the history of art in France, but it's the three of them there. I'd like one day to see all 46, but it needs a very big place. But I started out in nature and I'm finishing in nature. I hope it's not finished, but anyway, that's my last project, which is almost done.
What interests you in photography?
Well, it's to interpret the world around me, especially the human condition, according to my own personal vision, to obtain something that I feel enriches everybody and that gives us a deeper appreciation of life here.
Pretty great, right?
Yeah.
Really great.
Huh. Nice surprise to share with us. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I love
Yeah.
that. Let's see, is it the next frame? This whole statement is great, but let me see. that he believes in creative work through struggle to increase human wisdom and happiness.
Hmm.
So
Mm.
yeah, a lot there, I know. Any particular phrases or images that stayed with you that you want to share?
I think he was not of a particular image, but he was so aware of shapes, you know, the balance of shapes,
Agreed.
along with everything else.
I think you really can get a feeling of his interest in humanity in his photographs. It's really outstanding, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And, his sort of manifesto or his credo, underscores that it's a hopeful vision that he has, that
Yes.
creativity, can increase our humanity. Uh,
Yeah.
so we're
But at this time, it's beautiful to have something like this as an inspiration
right.
in our horrible times we're living through.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Oh,
I mean, a lot of what he said is really worth, pondering. So I'll share this link with you and you all can take another look at it. But one thing that stands out, I mean, I looked at a lot of different sources of his photography, and it's interesting that the French video that I just showed you has different images. I mean, a lot of the same images, no doubt, but it also included some different images that I hadn't really seen other places. So
Mm.
to me, it's signifying that they kind of get those images that are only in this video, show more humanity. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing to note. Barbara, were you going to say something or?
No, I was just thought that that was just really interesting and that he had those photographs of the fishermen put away in a box for years. That's, it just makes you think like how many people create things and they're just in a box, you know?
Yeah, including the three of us, right? So,
Yeah, I have to say that I was looking for some photographs that I took years ago, probably when I first started taking, and I have boxes and also going through and throwing out the garbage of it. But I found some photographs that I had taken at one point because I really wanted to take um like portraits of people that I know, like kind of working class people. And I asked to come over to their house and take photographs. And now I'm like, wow, that was pretty brave of me. And a lot of them are not good, but there's a couple of them that I'm like, wow, that's not bad.
oh, well, I remember back quite some time ago, photos that you brought to a workshop that I gave that were of workers. So, good, good. Well, it's very important at times to examine the photos that we have made in the past
Hmm.
and hold on to those that we think that we like, and then let the others go. But
Yeah.
it shows an arc of our photographic career um, that is important to be aware of. So if you see things that you're photographed then that you're now still interested in, it just shows you that that's a theme that continues to resonate.
Hmm.
So let's take a look at some of the photos now, and let me go back and share the screen once more so that we can do that. Okay. So I think we'll start with Judy, who's here. These are the new ones, correct, Judy?
the new ones, yes.
Okay, okay. Not so lovely. Let's go again.
That's nice.
It's light from the inside and light from the outside.
I
So
love this.
what
Yeah, this is great. Is this at Madhu or?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Oh, fantastic.
Well, now were you there this past week, or is this something that you took at a previous
Previous time, both of them previous, because there were no icicles this week.
Oh, that's true. But this is great. I mean, to me, this shows that you took to heart some of what we saw in Anastasia's.
Definitely.
So, t tell, why did you pick this one? Tell us a bit about that process.
Well, because, we were looking for something that would show light from two different directions and reflections, and that's why.
There's so many layers too.
This looks like a collage, I mean, or a multiple
Yeah.
exposure. So were able in that moment to really pull together a lot of sensory, information and make a cohesive and compelling photograph. Nicely done. So you decided to go with black and white. Tell us about that decision process.
Well, because I wanted to, most important, I wanted them to stand out, and I wanted the reflections of the light on them to stand out. And it was not the same if I used color, because the color would come from behind and distract from the icicles.
Okay. Okay, good.
It
Good.
was very conscientious. I worked on this for a while to make sure that the lighting came from the left,
Okay.
that
Okay.
it showed, and that the fact that I took it from the inside out made them brighter.
Right. Yeah, no, a nice composition, and I really like the maze of vines or limbs in the background, just creating, and they're kind of a little bit soft in focus, so it's just creating an interesting. Uh,
My little dog on the left, on the top,
I'm sorry, what's that?
the little dog on the left of the big icicle, there, little doggy. I see a doggy in there.
Oh,
Well, yeah,
Got
you
the
can
arrow.
see that. You can see that. Yeah, it'll go away. Why is that showing that? Oh well. Let's see.
oh yeah.
But um, dog notwithstanding, it is interesting. So I like the composition, and what I would look to do is maybe increase the contrast a little bit to get some maybe deeper blacks in the distance. So that's just one comment that I know you said you worked on it quite a bit, and not to turn you back to it, but that would be one thing that I might want to see a little, some really dark, dark darks. But it's otherwise a lovely image, and as is this one.
Thank you.
So
I
nicely.
like that the paint on the left is kind of dark. It kind of, I think, enhances the right.
Yeah, it looks very, I mean, the one thing that's great about it is you're not sure what's happening. And one thing we're trying to do with our photographs is to hold the attention of the viewer for
Mhm.
longer than just a few seconds, which is mostly what people give images these days. They don't give them much time. And this almost looks like a star. I mean, excuse me, a sky, image with stars and galaxies and the thing. I mean, it's very open-ended as to how the viewer interprets it.
I did edit though to make things stronger and stand out more, and so
Good. You've done well, and I agree with what Barbara's saying. Like, if all the panels had the same sort of um, I guess hue or tones to it, it wouldn't be as interesting because you can feel like you can really walk into this panel here, whereas
Mhm.
these look to be more like reflections and you can't really go into them. You know what I mean?
mhm.
So nice.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you.
So yeah, so Nancy sent us some, so we'll look at those. I didn't get any from Cami this week, and then we'll go to Barbara's.
There she goes.
Oh,
Fabulous.
wow.
So she said in her email she decided to continue working with this great vase that she has on her table. And so she sent these two.
Wow.
Interesting.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Lovely.
Yeah, pretty amazing what
That's really fun.
she's able to get in these photographs.
Not even doctored. Wow. They're fabulous. Whew.
There's a lot of work that she's doing here because she's got a bowl full of reflections, right?
Yeah,
And now where do you put the frame to make an interesting image? So, she's
right.
made some really good choices to make the photographs so that we see compositions that are compelling.
Definitely. Fabulous.
So Nancy, well done. And I actually am wondering if this may be her and her fingers there.
Oh,
Because I
oh
did
yeah.
say to her that she should get people's faces in there and see what happens. She'll have to let us know next week.
That's so cool.
So well done, Nancy, as usual.
Right, exactly.
Okay, and now Barbara's.
Wow.
We'll get both of these.
Where is that? Where is this?
It's in the back of Sag Harbor, in the village, the back street.
Huh.
Yeah, really love this.
Fabulous.
Love these. Have good eye for being able to see what's out there. Um,
I tried to put a little more light on this. I haven't played around much with enhancing the photographs after. So, because I wanted to a little more light on those figures.
right. So, one thing, because I would say that I would like a more exposure on them.
Okay.
So, in the camera, while you're making the photograph, there is the ability to modify the exposure value. It's called EV.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound familiar? Okay.
Yep.
So you could, and what are you shooting on some sort of an automatic mode or aperture priority or,
I did several different ones.
okay.
Um, I think this was aperture priority. I was trying to play around with it.
So when you're in an automatic mode or a semi-automatic mode, which aperture priority or shutter priority would be, the camera's going to tell you or give you the exposure that it thinks is correct. But a lot
Right.
of times the camera makes, bad choices. So that's where the EV comes into play because
Okay.
the EV allows you to add either more light, excuse me, or less light, depending on your need. So you need to go, you find on your camera where EV is. Sometimes it's
Okay.
right on the top, or sometimes you have to push a button. But in that situation, you might want to increase the EV up to like almost +1, plus a half, +1. Maybe take a couple of images and see what happens. Because the most important thing, really is what's happening kind of down below, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I mean you want a little more light on this area. Now that's going to make this sky go a little bit lighter too, so that the nice blue that you get may go lighter than you want. And but I still think
The
it
light from that window. What will happen to the light from the window?
well that would still be it would be lighter because what happens is when you use EV and you go in the plus direction, plus a half, +1, the entire image is going to be lighter. So
Right.
Okay.
it's not selectively making one area lighter than the other.
But will that be still as nice as it is now?
Well, I think we need a little more light down here. I mean, I think that
Yeah.
that would be helpful.
Mm,
So and you can maybe even increase the saturation a little bit to maybe help with that. But I think that you could go up by about a half of a stop, so to speak, and still hold detail in the sky as well as getting more detail down here.
Okay.
But I love the composition and the way you've incorporated all these different layers between, this, I guess it looks like a bench or a
Yeah.
table in the foreground and the figures. Then you've got the buildings. Really, it does echo some of what we saw today and what some of what we saw last week with Anastasia's work. So I think the composition is really excellent.
mm.
And here
Also
also,
excellent. Great.
I'd love to see maybe this pole a little more in the photograph, but that's kind of just picking a nit because again, it's just the jumble of things that is making this photograph what it is. And this could be a little bit brighter too, again,
Yeah.
about a half a stop or so.
Hmm.
Now, you have, when you bring them on your computer, Barbara, do you do have a post-processing software that does some limited things, right?
Right. Very limited things, but I I was just trying to add a little more light to it, which maybe I did it the wrong way because I had this photograph and I thought, okay, that's the way I want it. But then it doesn't look as bold as when I was looking at it. So I maybe didn't complete the step.
Okay, so now what did you do to make it more bold? Did you make it lighter, darker, or
Yeah, I played around with both, but what really struck me was that the reds seemed a little bit more intense. And it's really interesting because there's a lot of red in it, the poles and the wood. And I just thought well, that makes it interesting, the red and white.
right? So there,
Maybe
saturation.
that's saturation.
Yeah, that would be saturation. I would play with the saturation.
Okay.
Um, and that would help. And then, just maybe brighten it a little bit. Uh,
Hmm.
but really the beauty in the image is just in all of the arrangement of things just strewn all over, but the way you've decided to photograph it, like you could have photographed it looking directly at the back of I'm assuming this is the back of a building somewhere. I'm not
Yes.
sure.
Yeah.
So you could have done that, but you just tell us about why you chose to photograph from the left so that we see, a deck here and then the side of this building.
Yeah, and part of it was like looking at the reflection in the door and the way the mannequin was or figure was standing,
Okay.
kind of like stood out more from this angle, and the poles too, the red poles. Um, this way, they kind of have a frame effect, I think.
Yeah, yeah. No, good. All good choices. All good reasons. And, this provides us with some visual relief too, because there's so much clutter here.
Yeah.
This is a little bit, it's less cluttered, so to speak.
Hmm.
So, it kind of, the eye can like look here and then look here and then kind of come back around. So it's a nice balance. So, yeah. And I like the street number there. So
Yeah.
nice. Nice framing of it. So well done. Well done.
Thank you.
All righty. So any last questions or about your camera or comments about Louis Stettner?
Well, I really want to go back and look at his photos again. I think they're really remarkable. And um, I think I don't know my camera well enough. And even though I've had it for several years, I need to really get more comfortable with it.
Yeah, I would encourage that. And, if you, I mean, start right away with looking up exposure value and how you can modify
Okay.
the exposure value in your camera. Now, Barbara,
Okay.
when you take pictures, do you know what file size you're actually saving? Like, are you taking them in RAW and JPEG, or do you know that about that?
I do not know that.
So I would check into the file format because the best, what we want to do is to get the largest possible file for
Okay.
the image, so that because it's going to have more data, it's going to be allows for to make a richer photograph. So if you have a raw setting, I would go for maybe JPEG and RAW, and the J when you work on the image, do you know is it a JPEG image? Do you know?
I believe so.
Okay. And you're working with a Nikon, is that right?
Right.
Okay. Because I think Nikon has some software that you can use that would allow you to use a raw image.
Okay.
Um, but you are right now using Microsoft's photo program, is that correct?
No, I'm on a Mac
Oh, okay.
laptop.
Okay, using the Mac. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Well, that should let you use bring in a raw image. When you bring your images onto your computer, do you ever see the extension of the file RAW?
I can't recall that. No.
Okay. So look into
Is that what is that raw? What is that? Is that an acronym?
um I don't think it is. It means it's
Okay.
the raw data. So
It's just the raw data.
when the camera makes a JPEG file for us, it is compressing the image data that we initially get so that the size of the file is smaller. So it's kind of like a trade-off, like if you want to share with people, you don't want to send them a file that's like 20 megabytes, right? You want to send
Okay.
them a file that's maybe 5 megabytes. So the camera, in creating a JPEG of your image, is actually tossing a bunch of data out. I mean, it's
Huh.
it's trying to make good decisions about what it keeps and what it gives to you, but the raw file has all of the data that's in there. So that
Okay.
means when like just in that example, if a JPEG is 5, the raw could be 20. I mean, so when you work on the raw file, you have more color range in there, you have more tonality range in there, and also, very importantly, JPEG files often will clip the extreme lights and the extreme darks. They just won't give you that spread. And so therefore, you're automatically, when you work with the JPEG file, working with something that doesn't really have the full image that you were able to get on your camera.
Huh.
So I would look into, and we can even talk about this one-on-one if you want, but um, I would look into the camera to see how you can get raw images, and then when you bring them onto the computer to work with them, select the raw image to work with and not the JPEG.
Okay.
And I think Apple's software will let you do that.
Okay.
And Judy, you use Apple software, is that correct?
I do.
And do you,
Yeah, but I'm so I listen to this and I wish I could get my camera, no, but my hands are just can't hold the camera anymore. They're so arthritic, so that I have to use this iPhone, and I'm more limited in what I can do.
okay, so you're using primarily the iPhone at this point.
That's all
Okay,
I'm.
okay. But anyway, so Barbara, look into those settings, and if you have questions, just call or text or email me or text me, and we can maybe go over them. But
Okay, great.
that might help.
Yeah.
Alrighty, gals. Well, listen, I hope that you all have a wonderful week. And I'll send, keep working. We're going to do the same kind of thing, working with light, working with, let's say, layered images. And we will meet again next Wednesday. It'll be the last session of this Footsteps of the Masters.
Ah, too fast.
I know it does. It does. Aye, aye.
But when are we going into the next one soon?
We will be going into the next one. I'd have to look at my schedule to get the exact dates, times, etc., etc. So, meanwhile, I wish you both well. And Nancy and Cami, sorry we missed you, but we hope you'll be joining us next Wednesday. So, have a good week.
You
You
too.
too. Thanks a lot.
Okay, you
I
bet.
finished my memoir.
Keep photographing.
I finished my memoir.
Oh, well, congratulations.
I now have to figure out how I'm going to have it printed.